Yeah, it's a great way to kickstart that the women should put themselves first, where a lot of times they're focused on their families, and so now they can focus on their health so that they can provide more for their families and take care of themselves.
So it all started with a chance meeting with Debbie, a physiotherapist, at a diabetes seminar. Since both of us work with groups on health promotion, we were just discussing physical activity programs in the community. A few weeks later, when SADP received a request from Madinah Mosque, I remembered my conversation with Debbie, and I contacted her to see if she could help in any way.
I was attending a diabetes education session and met Sheila through a friend, and we exchanged some emails, and she inquired to me about if I knew any kinesiologists that were interested in doing some physical activity at a mosque she was involved with. So I went to Ananya Banerjee, who works at the cardiac rehab program, and we discussed some opportunities of kinesiologists that she might know that might be able to fit what the mosque was looking for.
I received an email from Debbie, and the 15K challenge announcement had been released from Women's College Hospital. I contacted Dr. Jennifer Price, and given her research on women's health and physical activity and my research in trying to understand how we can implement health promotion programs in religious institutions, we knew that the 15K challenge would be an ideal platform to evaluate an exercise intervention at Madinah Mosque for the women, given their high risk for diabetes.
We first met with the mosque leaders at Flemingdon Health Centre to discuss the project, to see if our ideas of running this intervention for women were feasible and would work, and if they would be at all interested in it and what space would look like. We were then lucky enough to be invited to visit the mosque, and we did our field trip and taken public transportation to see kind of what the neighborhood looked like, what other things surrounded the mosque, and then met with the leaders in the mosque, and were pleasantly surprised to see a beautiful space for exercise. It fit well with what we were thinking of, but also it was really exciting to see how community-based the mosque was and how much they used the mosque during the day.
The South Asian Diabetes Prevention Program. It was started here in 2009. Our main goal is around enhancing equitable access to South Asians around diabetes prevention services and resources. And we're so happy that we can collaborate with Women's College.
So for a very long time, the Masjid has always been a male-dominated area and has never been part of a community and has never incorporated women to the fullest extent. So to have an exercise program in the Masjid for the local women in the area is just a phenomenal thing for them to come by, not just come by for prayer and spiritual and religious purposes, but to also come by for other needs.
So after holding early detection clinics at Madinah Mosque, we went back to Madinah Mosque for a follow-up meeting. And over there we had a discussion about the lack of physical activity in the area, and also since we had screened more women than men, there was also the lack of women exercise programs at the mosque. I then connected with Salim and Suleiman, who got connected with Women's College, and they were glad to know that such women's program will be starting at the mosque that is catered specifically to the woman.
So far it has been a great pleasure to be working with Flemingdon Health Center and the Women's College Center for their continued support, the funding that's coming to us. This has become a very important issue within our community, and hopefully this exercise programs of healthy lifestyle will really be a great influence and a necessity for our ongoing studies.
My contribution to this project is I'm one of the designers of the circuit training exercise program for the pilot project, and we hope we've designed it in a way that the women will really enjoy the exercise program.
We thought it'd be important to do some training with the kinesiologists that we hired for this intervention. So we had them on site, explained to them our thoughts about the physical activity that they were going to start in the mosque, and showed them some technique of the exercises.
As with religion, it's not just spiritual and religious obligation, it's about the whole body and about health and well-being. So to have this program for the local community, for women specifically, it's just a great thing, and I'm so happy to be part of it.
So thank you again. A totally different topic and very interesting. Can I have the team stand up? So thank you very much. And questions for the team? Sorry.
Hi. I think that the film captured really nicely the back and forth, the conversation that goes from one person to the next person, the amount of time required to try and build a partnership, a collaboration of some kind. And I just ask, like, what was the time frame from first call to second to third? How long does it take to sort of structure a partnership and put together a proposal?
I think it was actually pretty quick to jump in. Sheila and Debbie made the connection probably in October, and then we started emailing back and forth, and then Ananya jumped in with there's money to be had. So for us, and then my lovely research partner went to Australia to present at a diabetes conference, but we got the group together very quickly, and I really give kudos to Flemingdon Health Centre for that, because they were hugely helpful in bringing the mosque in and helping us connect. For us, the longest part, and I think Beryl alluded to it a bit, is that getting the research ethics. The mosque was up and ready to go and wanted that exercise program the minute we spoke to them. So we got the application in December, and they thought the program would start in January, where we've just started in June and been really successful. I think we had about 8 women at the first exercise intervention, and now we're up to almost 30 over 2 weeks.
Bravo.
So it's been really successful.
So I was going to jump in, if I could, with a question sort of related to that about how people have responded to the program. I think you've kind of alluded they've probably been fairly enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's been an interesting mix, because when you're at the mosque, you're speaking to both the spiritual leader and the lay leader, the 2 gentlemen you saw, Salim and Suleiman. But the women themselves are really driving when it's going to happen. And that piece of the partnership is really interesting, because we have a conversation with the leaders, and then the women jump in and tell us what to say to them. So it's been a great experience that way. And interesting, they're a bit of tension between the two, but the women are getting their way.
I think there's Mona, you have a question at the front?
Can I just ask a question about, so I'm doing women's health research. I find that eventually this question often comes around, which is, what about the men? So my question about your project is just about, has that come up yet, where the men are asking to have an exercise program, and how are you handling that?
So I'll talk about that a bit. Before the program came upon, we did work with Madinah Mosque before, and we had sessions there, and they did bring up both the men and the women. This was just a great opportunity to look at the women, but for men, they also wanted the physical activity programs to get started at the mosque, and we are currently working with students that are getting trained by Women's College Hospital, and we'll be shortly starting the men program also, just looking at the times and dates that, because it's a mosque, we cannot conflict with the women exercising at the same time, so they will be looking at when the women are doing exercises, and then when the men can do their exercises at what time works for them.
Good.
And Mona, in addition to that, the other thing the mosque identified was, what about the children? And they run a very active program for children, education program during the day, but they had that question.
I'll just wrap up by saying, if anyone had said, can you imagine a mosque and women's college being at the same table around a program for physical activity in the mosque, you would have to forgive my disbelief. But thanks to Women's College and Flemingdon staff, Sheila, Mara, Dilani, and Nicole and Priyanka, for making believers out of all of us.
So Thank you very much. I think we just saw here, I think what we were trying to achieve with this kind of funding, to get very important ideas up there, just ideas that, when you hear them, you just see how important they are. And they're so incredibly different. But I think all of them, I think we can appreciate, could have a huge benefit to women's health. And then the other piece that's just come out, which is also amazing, is often when you do things that are really good for women, it's really good for men too. So, fantastic all around. So congratulations on that wonderful work.